All right, a very good morning. A cold morning for some of us up in the Gauteng region. I'm not sure how cold it is where you are around the country, but please, it's always a great opportunity to let us know, where you're from or what your expectations are. We've done these many times before, as we all know. Uh, Coming from the pandemic side, the virtual stuff was amazing, and it's continued to be amazing. We are able to host delegates from all over the place. And this is a huge favorite of mine. It's quite simply a favorite because it's so important for business owners and entrepreneurs who run small to medium-sized businesses, and of course, not only for that, as consumers out there, we need to be financially fit. We need to be financially ready in case the need comes when we need to take that all-important loan, growth funding, or even maybe buying a car or a commercial property or your home. And that's why this morning, we're going to talk about what's on your credit report and why you should really care. And the series, How to Become Financially Fit, has been going on for many months now. We've had many forms of communication back from people all over the country of gratitude. We've made a big difference. That's what we've been told to many out there, to really make sure that they are financially ready to tackle on anything. So good morning, Lorata, Joe, good morning to you guys. Good to see you again. It's always nice to see the same faces or the same messages coming up because we have a massive following out there. And it's, of course, I always say it's because of our delegates. We do what we do. And it's about organizations like Experian. We can do what we do. So please, guys, enjoy the morning. It's interactive, it's engaging, it's lighthearted. Although I say lighthearted, it's extremely important, the messaging. And, our objective at the NSBC, if you can take something small out of this that can make a massive impact in your road ahead, then we've achieved the objective. But without any further delay, I'm going to welcome Ans Gerber on stage with me. I have the pleasure of meeting Ans not that long ago. Super passionate in what she does, and of course, not only passionate but extremely knowledgeable. And I know that the insights this morning are going to be extremely important. So, Ans, please join me on stage. Ans, again, a very big welcome. We've had the pleasure of talking a few minutes ago off screen. Always love talking to you. I love what you do, and I love the way you approach what you do, and your passion comes out obviously in what you do. So I know you and your team have made a massive difference to business owners, entrepreneurs, and consumers alike. People often say to me, a business owner and entrepreneur running a business, but as you know, Ans, they're also consumers, and then that's what's so nice about what we do together. And I'm truly grateful. The NSBC is truly grateful to you and your team, and to what Experian has done over the years. You do it without an agenda. Most of this, could I say, things or components or stuff that you do is absolutely complementary. So it's always nice to see organizations and the people within the organizations really out to make a big difference to so many out there. So from Nigel, Ceci, how cold is it out in Nigel this morning? Good morning to you guys from Heidelberg. I believe you guys had some snow yesterday. I was at Saturday Convention Center yesterday for a briefing, and I must admit, the last time I've seen snow like that was in October, quite many years back, and although it was snowing, it was extremely cold. So unfortunately, it's still a bit chilly, but not as bad as today. Ans, how are you keeping on your side, by the way?
Doing well. Thank you very much, Mark. And thanks so much also for having us again and for having me again here today. Maybe just a short bit around why we do what we do. We have found in our engagements with consumers and small business owners that there's this aspect of fear when it comes to things financial and things credit. And we believe that we can make a dent in the universe if we can help sort of relinquish that fear and address some of the questions that consumers and small business owners alike experience when it comes to these topics. Yeah, so here in Stellenbosch, it's also cold again this morning. It's been cold for a number of days now. We've also seen some snow. It's a bit less irregular here than what it is up in Joburg and Pretoria, but yeah, still enjoying the lovely winter weather.
Absolutely. And coming back to the credit aspect, and I always regard your credit report. It could be your worst enemy, your credit report, or your biggest friend. And it's the choice that we make as consumers and business owners, which way we would like it to take that on. So, and I know once again this morning, Ans, we're going to talk about how your credit report, your credit score can become your biggest friend. And I've got a couple of questions coming forward here, and to our attendees out there, please, if you've got any questions that you would like us to address, pop them in. Sometimes our chat goes at the speed of light, so we can't always get to them, but what we do miss, we certainly come back to you guys out there. And another question, I know it will come into the chat. Yes, this replay will be made available. It's in our library, and the messaging, of course, is permanent. So if you need the replay, you might have missed it, or you're coming late, or you have to leave early, please try not to. But the replay will be there, sent to you, so you can really listen to it in your own, at a different time that of course is convenient to you. Now, I've got a few questions, as I always have, Ans, and we have spoken. If you don't mind me, these questions are always hot off the press. This is not it's kind of spontaneous. We like to keep it spontaneous. So I've got a few notes in front of me. So my apologies to you, Ans, and to the team out there. If I refer to my notes, it's just because it is spontaneous and it's meant to be that way. Now, Ans, we have spoken about a credit score in the series. Is a credit report the same as a credit score?
Thanks for that, Mike. I think that's a very important thing to unpack quickly before we go any further when we talk about credit reports. So no, it's not the same thing. Now, you and the audience here might be aware of the fact that Experian is actually the world's biggest global information services company. What that means in human speak is we've got really a lot of data. And it's with this data that we can create sort of insights aspects or insights features, if you like. And one of these features or derivatives that we create off the data that we have is a credit score. But the data itself is something entirely different. And that is what's actually reported in a credit report. So your credit report contains the data that is used to calculate your credit score with. So what it really means is the data in your credit report is quite important if you want to make sure that your credit score is a good one. And we know that credit scores are important, right? That's part of the thing that drives decisioning when you apply for a credit product. When you apply for a loan, that's one of the first things that a bank or the lender would look at, right? So it's really important to make sure that the data that informs that credit score reflects, firstly, accurately on how you have been behaving on your finances, but also that you behave well so that it does your score good.
Okay. And I've got a question. I've got my WhatsApp is going on the side here quite hectically, like it always does do, and the perception out there is that for many is that, a credit bureau has passed a judgment against me. But elaborate on that quick one before we get to the next question, because I'll tell you what, Ans, I get this WhatsApp in the last 35 parts of the series. So, and I think the perception out there is that it's the credit bureau, it's the credit, whoever they are, Experian or whatever, they have passed a judgment. They are causing me not to get funding. Just can you touch on that? Because I think I'd like to give our audience a little bit of a feel on that comment.
Right, thanks. That's an awesome question. And we often get that in our consumer engagements as well. So thank you for raising that, Mike. A credit bureau is not a court of law. We cannot put a judgment against your name. A credit bureau is, I also always think of it as a data bank. We are a data bank. So if there's data out there that pertains to you as a person in your financial capacity, credit specifically, then a credit bureau serves as that bank that holds the data or the entity that keeps the data. So that is the role of the credit bureau, to hold, to safekeep, and to report that data back again as and when required.
Okay.
So no, a credit bureau is not the baddie in the whole mix. And I put that in inverted commas, because that's often how consumers perceive a credit bureau. What a credit bureau really is an enabler, because we keep the positive data as well. I don't think many consumers realize that 99% of the data on the bureau is positive data. It's also information being kept by the credit bureau. So no, the bureau isn't the party that passes a judgment. We are not the party that decide to put a judgment against the consumer's name. We receive that data, and I know you and I will talk about different data sources as well, but one of the sources of the data that we have on the bureau is actually courts. That's publicly available data where the judgments handed down from courts are, and that information is passed down to a bureau, and we safekeep and have that data on our data platforms.
Yeah.
I
So
hope
thanks for that, Ans. It's always a misconception out there, and it's always nice to talk about it on an ongoing basis, because we really want our market out there to understand that, so we can become more in control of our own data and pass that back through. All right. So basically, so the data on a credit report is actually quite important, right? Is that correct?
That's 100% correct, because as I said earlier, we know that a credit score is one of the key decisioning mechanisms that the lender uses when they assess your credit application. And a credit score is derived from your data, from the consumer's data. So yes, your data on your credit report is very important, because that is what informs your credit risk score.
Okay. Now we've got a comment there. You'll see in the top left there. From Didizilla, I hope I get his question right here. He says that I'm under debt review. What is my score? I joined a removal company. Will that work? I'm not sure if I can read into that. I hope you can answer your question in the right way. It's come through.
Yeah, so I can't give you specific information in terms of your personal situation, Duduzile, but if you are currently under debt review, then that will impact on your credit score. If you want to have more details specifically on what your score is, I can somewhere at this point already recommend to you that you sign up for UP. That's www.up.experian.co.za. Mike, just checking that you can still hear me, sir.
I can hear you. All good.
Alrighty, I've just lost visuals, so I just want to check that you can still hear me. So my recommendation to you would 100% be to do that you sign up for UP, ensure that you can access your credit score on the platform, and then have a look at that. And you can also reach out to us via the platform to address any specific issues that you might have. We've got consumer care agents waiting for your comments that you sent to us via the app platform. Mike, can you please just excuse me for a second here? I've lost all visuals here. Let me just check that everything is plugged in.
Maybe just refresh, Ans. It happens to all of us all the time. So maybe do a refresh and let's see. I can hear you loud and clear. Your visual's frozen, but maybe you can do a refresh, and I'll just keep talking to our lovely attendees out there for a couple of minutes, and then let's see if we can get you back on there. But they're floating on your screen to all our attendees out there. You'll see the app. I've actioned it. I've used it. It's absolutely incredible. So, my biggest recommendation, and what's nice about the app is that it's not just about getting your free credit report. It's also about educating you on how you can become funding ready, step by step. It's we spoke of earlier, and it's you guys have uncomplicated this process in such an amazing way that it will make a difference. So it's on your screen there from our host, the Experian app. Please, guys, it's one of the most important, as I'm not just saying this, it's one of the most important apps that you will have access to. It's completely free, but the information and the step-by-step process, like budgeting and tips on what you need to do to improve your credit score is there. Ans, welcome back. I didn't lose you for long, but as I always say to the audiences over the years, as Arnold Schwarzenegger said, we will be back. So you're back and all good. So now, what data is on a credit report, Ans?
There's all sorts of data on there, Mike. I'm going to sort of categorize it just to simplify it for myself as well, because it really becomes quite a lot of data. There's 3 key categories of information that is reported in a credit report. The first category is personal details. Here you would find your name, surname, ID number, typically, contact information, employment information, as well as deeds data. Now, or deeds information, now that speaks to your property ownership. That's typically information that's also available from a public source, the deeds office. We also hold information around you being a principal of a company, so principal information, and that comes from the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, so SIPC data. So we can see on your ID number if you are a registered principal or director of a business. And also on a credit report, we can see if inquiries has been made against your name. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe just a little bit of a footnote on inquiries specifically. I'm not sure if the audience is that au fait with how inquiries typically work. But many consumers do know that a lot of inquiries against your name, typically reflect badly on your credit score. And what that means is, if Mike applied for 5 lending products last month, and again he applies for 5 lending products this month, and maybe next month again, that would raise maybe a red flag in terms of Mike's consumer maturity and in terms of the way he deals with credit, right? That would be a bit of a risky behavior element there. So inquiries becomes important when we want to know if a consumer continuously looks for credit, and that really can, in the end, reflect negatively on a consumer's credit risk score. However, not all calls to the bureau or inquiries made to the bureau footprint on your profile is what we call it. So footprinting on profile refers to the fact that the inquiry was made to your name, actually reflecting on the bureau data. Now, one beautiful example of a call to the bureau that does not footprint on your profile is Up. So if you go onto Up and you look for your score, that will not footprint on your profile or on your credit report. We, for Up purposes and for the Up consumers specifically, we do indicate on their report that we make available on the app that yes, they did in fact look at their credit risk score, but that does not footprint on their profile on the bureau. So I just wanted to sort of encourage consumers also in that regard. You are most welcome to go and look at your credit score. It will not reflect badly on your personal profile if you look at your score on the Up platform. So that's the first category of information, that's personal details. As the category of information on the credit report pertains to positive information, and as we said earlier, there's lots of that, right? Account details of existing loans that you have, account types. If you've got good behavior, long time series of nice good behavior, that's also reflected on the positive statuses of accounts. That information is also included. And then the last category that we have on a credit report is negative information. That is where we get things like judgments, notices, debt collections, debt restructuring, and negative payment behavior typically being reported on a credit report. Now, that's a whole mouthful, I know, but there's a lot of information that's reflected on a credit report.
Yeah, Ans, thank you for that. The question coming through there, I'd like to touch on that one. I've just registered a company and I'm in so much debt, but manages from month to month. I need funding. Will this affect the debts that I have? I've worked with thousands of business owners over the past many, many years. And I just think in a nutshell, if you have a significant amount of debt and you've registered your business and you want to access funding, I know Ans is going to jump in after this. My advice is get the Up app, see what you need to do to eradicate the debt and start building your credit score. It's going to be extremely, extremely challenging to access funding if you've got a significant debt and it's on record. There are very few funders out there who will give you funding. So maybe to prevent you on a long journey of trying to access funding while you have a significant amount of debt, rather start on step one and see where your status is on the credit report and start eliminating. Work with the Experian team. There's some amazing people there who can help you and give you pointers and give you advice. But the app, the Up app will do that with you as well. So to answer that question, if I'm answering right, almost impossible to access funding if you have a record of significant debt. I don't know if you want to add to that, Ans.
Yeah, maybe just on the Up topic specifically, Mike, I think what we often miss is the fact that there's such awesome educational material also on the Up app. So yes, you can access your personal data. Yes, you can see your credit score, but there's also great articles and content and training material on Up. So I would really encourage the guys to go and register and have a look at the content that's on there. Maybe just more specific to the question that was posed, I think it is always going to be a long-term approach. It's not going to be a magic wand and then it's fixed. You need to create a track record because that's what feeds into a credit report and that is what feeds into a credit risk score. You need to show that over a longer period, your behavior is reliable and you honor debt commitments. So that is in essence what a credit report and a credit score reflects, right? So it's not a once-off fix and then finish and claw. It's gonna take time, and you need to show over a period that you your behavior has been good, and that there's lots of positive information on your credit report.
I'm 100% right, and I always encourage people out there, don't wait until you need to access some form of funding and then get your credit report. Get your credit report every month. And if there's an issue there, if something is not right, or if you think the information is not right, try and fix it then. And always maintain your credit score and your credit report in a tip-top condition, because the time may come when you need that. And when you need to fund, let's just call it funding. It's too late to try and fix your credit report there and then. As Ans says, it's a process. And I just want to touch on Hannes says here, Hannes Tehran, top right there. Hannes, thank you for your comment. I've been listed by Telkom 5 years and Vodacom 3 years ago because they did not cancel my contracts on time. When will Experian remove that data? Ans, your take on that?
Very good question. We also get that quite often in terms of that our data is wrong, my data is wrong on the bureau. Why did the bureau not fix my data? So maybe 2 steps back, just in terms of explaining where the bureau gets our data from. And I think I did sort of mention it earlier already, where we get data from public sources and from banks and so on, and from courts. The thing here is we get our data from external sources, and the bureau is not allowed to change that data anyway. And I think that makes sense, right? The bureau is not the decision-making entity. The bureau is not the entity passing the judgment, for example. We just hold the data, and we cannot fiddle or change that data in any way. It comes as it is, and we host that data. So that's the first thing to understand. It does, however, sometimes happen that the data that is submitted to the bureau is not accurate, or updates are not provided to the bureau. And there can be many reasons for that, but that would be a function of the data as it comes through to the bureau. And that is when it becomes important for the consumer to look at their credit report and say, yeah, shucks, the Telkom thing from 5 years ago is still not addressed. To identify that, to reach out to the bureau and share with us the information that you have available to confirm what you are saying. So there would be a few documentation elements that we require from the consumer if they want to lodge such a dispute with the bureau. One of these would be proof of your identity. We need to know that we're talking to the person who says they are who they say they are, right? So some identity documentation, proof of address, and then there might be some other kinds of documents that we also require from a consumer, but we walk that route with the consumer and explain to the consumer why we have what we have on the bureau, and we really go the extra mile to help consumers sort out the data issues that reflects on their credit reports, if there are. Just to reiterate, it's not a matter of the bureau not or choosing not to update the data. it is a matter of the data that the Bureau has that is not reflective of the truth necessarily. That happens very seldom, but it does happen. And it's for that reason that we have the consumer care functionality available.
Absolutely.
And sorry, Mike. Just maybe last one.
Please do.
Have the on the app or the contact us functionality, so the consumers can actually contact us via that platform.
Yeah. And Hannes, your question there, thank you for that. But just pop another message. Mention we had a chat this morning. See if the guys can help you there. I get a lot of feedback from a wonderful team who've really spent a lot of time helping our SMEs out there from Experian. So something maybe have gone wrong there, but please give it another shot and just say that you are part of the webinar, and please if someone can point you in the right direction. Now, and also what I also try and encourage business owners to do, Ans, is that keep everything in written record. Look, I spoke to these guys on the phone 4 years ago, then I phoned them again, and I phoned them again. Keep proper correspondence, keep a trail of correspondence, so when you need to put proof on the table, it's in writing and it's proof. So not just hearsay, not just by telephone, keep that. And I know many business owners tend not to do that. So my encouragement, put everything on record, especially when it comes to trying to resolve these outstanding accounts, or if you want the credit bureau to remove them or to assist you in removing them. These questions are coming through fast. Eric's asking, while we're on it, how do you improve your credit score if you're under debt review? And how do you remove the debt review while you have paid off the debt?
So maybe just 2 steps back again in terms of being under debt review. That's a process that a consumer goes through with a debt counseling agency, and usually there's a contracted sort of period, and during that period there's a specific arrangement in terms of what one can afford, just to make sure that you can make ends meet from month to month, and you can address all the expenses that you have to address and pay every month, including the credit commitments that you have to keep. So once you've gotten to a point where you are now cleared and you've received your clearance certificate also, and it still doesn't reflect positively on your record on the Bureau, please reach out to us, because as I said earlier, there's a standard data feeding process that happens on the Bureau where information goes to different entities. So in the case specifically of debt review, debt counselors typically pass that clearance information onto the NCR, the National Credit Regulator. They then keep this positive data in a pool and feed it through to the Credit Bureau. So we get clearance information from the National Credit Regulator. If your name has been cleared, but it doesn't reflect as such on your credit report, it might be that there's something still not being fed through the data machine. Please reach out to us, especially if you've got your clearance certificate and you've got all your identification information. Our consumer care agents are standing ready to help you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for that insight, Ans. And I'm going to combine 2 questions that have come through to me. I know you've touched on this, but if you want to add anything further. Firstly, where does Experian get the data from, and what happens if the data is wrong?
So where does the Experian get the data from? I've touched on this already, as you said, but in essence, there's 3 main sources that we use for consumer information. Public sources of information, and that speaks to the deeds office, for example, or SIPC registration data that we spoke of earlier, and courts as well. So that's public data. The second, and actually the biggest source of all of them, is behavioral data that we get from credit providers. So that's monthly submissions that come through to the Bureau, masses and masses and masses of data. And it comes from people like banks and lenders, retail lenders, micro lenders. Also, telco providers provide us this data, specifically for the contract consumers. So that's the bulk of the data that comes into the Bureau. And then also, as I referred to just now, from the NCR side, we get data pertaining to consumers' successful completion of the debt review process. So that also comes through the Bureau. And then there's another source of information, but this is more towards the business side of it. So for businesses specifically, Experian performs what we call research. We've got a whole research team that actually does research on specific businesses, considering the service providers that the businesses nominate and so on. So that's also another data source that we look at. Again, more on the business side, not so much on the consumer side. So that's in terms of the data sources. And then you asked also, what do we do then if the data is wrong? As I explained, consumers are free to lodge a dispute with a credit bureau, and we've got a process for that. You can reach out to us. I can actually give you an email address or a phone number, and consumers are welcome to reach out to us on those. So the email address, I hope you have a pen and paper ready. It's eza.consumer@experian.com. I will repeat that again, eza.consumer@experian.com. Or you can phone us. I'll give you the phone number as well. That's 0861 105 665. I'll repeat that, 0861 105 665. So you can reach us on that email address or on that phone number, and our consumer care agents are waiting to help the guys. Again, this is a process, and we need. Thanks so much. I think Leanne just popped it on the chat. Thanks so much for that, Leanne. So it's eza.consumer@experian.com. Maybe just fix that email address there. So you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can address your question as best we can. You will, as I said earlier, you will need to provide some proof of identity and address, and whatever other documents are required. Our agents will help you through that process, but they will investigate your query and get back to you as soon as possible.
Correct. There's the email address. Yeah, no, thank you for that, Ans. You know, it's always here's such an important and please, you know, if you get stuck on anything, you need something addressed, also pop an email to NSBC, info@nsbc.africa, and our team will point you in the right direction to Experian. So if you've missed something, or if you want to add further, please don't hesitate to do that. And here we have another question. How do I know which credit bureau I'm listed under? From Eric, he's asking that question.
I would advise this consumer to go to all the credit bureaus and go and have a look at the credit reports that's available from the different bureaus. Every bureau should, in theory, have the same data, but we don't always. So, but we get from the same sources. Sometimes there might be data glitches in the process. So my best suggestion in that regard would be go and check your report from the different bureaus and make sure that the data there is accurate.
Thank you for that, Ans. Ans, I'm going to ask you the question I ask many times, but it's so important. For me, it's such an important thing to do. You know, I personally say, on my own experience, talking to thousands of wonderful business owners and consumers over the past many years, is check your credit report every month and fix it. And I always also say, and I've learned this from the Experian team over the past many months, is that you are in control of your own credit report. You decide what your credit report and what your credit score looks like. Because if there's something wrong, they will fix it. And if there is something wrong that was caused by maybe a desperate situation that you have been in, and we know many business owners over many years, it's not always the perfect curve to the top, and you hit obstacles en route, and generally these obstacles are that you're unable to service your car repayments or your bond repayments or your retail accounts. They are fixable, but don't wait when you need to fix them. Do it right now and fix them. So when you do need a good credit score and report, it's there waiting for you. And it's such an important exercise to do, and it's an easy exercise to do. So Ans, then you ask the question, where and how does one get their credit report?
On www.up.experian.co.za. So we've said it now a number of times, but I think, Mike, that's the best advice I can give any consumer and any small business owner when it comes to taking ownership of your financial health and your financial fitness. So absolutely on Up, go and register there, go and look at your credit risk score, go and look at your credit report. You can do budgeting there. I know you and I spoke a while back on budgeting and the importance of that. So even if you don't have credit, still makes sense to go and download up and make sure that you have a look at your information on there, go through the educational material as well, make use of the budgeting facility. But the point here is that we as consumers and we as small business owners really need to empower ourselves with the right knowledge so that we can set ourselves up for success in future. I also just wanted to add, Mike, that a credit report is like a story that you are writing. It's each one of us credit story. And we have the power to decide what that story tells about us. So if there is negative behavior on your credit record and it is accurate, it is correct, then it needs to be there. It's just not just a matter of, I don't want it there, let's take it off. If the information there is accurate, then it needs to be there. But the point is, the power to change my behavior lies with me. And the empowerment to change my behavior is a function of education, learning how it works, and taking ownership of our finances. And that's really what we're trying to do with Up, to help consumers to do just that.
Ans, thank you for that. I love the way you put that. I'll take one more question from our attendees out there. Martin's saying, can anybody access my credit score at any time?
So on Up, there's all sorts of security checks that we've built in. We are a credit bureau after all. There's few entities on this planet that is as aware of data and data security as we are. So not just anybody can look at your data. We have security put in place on Up, and you'll see every time that you sign in, you get a one-time PIN. So definitely doing our level best to keep your data secure. There is always the situation where, and that is a usual business process for a bureau, where if you apply for credit, you give permission as a consumer for a potential credit provider to go and look at your credit data, but that is something that you are fully, again, in control of, and you give permission for the said provider to look at your data.
Ans, I'm going to have to ask you one more question from Eric. I know we can keep doing this all day. There are time constraints, but it's quite a good question, and thank you for that, Eric. How long does it take to clear bad credit record?
So it's almost as asking how long is a piece of string, because it depends what kinds of data we're looking at here. But I think for the most part, let me give you a conservative answer. The news may be better for some instances than for other. But for the most part, negative information is kept 5 years or less on the bureau. So again, for different kinds of situations, there's different rules that apply, and we can have a whole lecture on that, Mike. But for the most part, it does take a while for negative data or for, as Eric there put it, bad data on my credit report to sort of fall off the reports.
Yeah, Ans, thank you for that, but I'm not going to let you go quite yet, because I'm going to make an announcement of what's coming up next week, and I'm super excited. Again, extremely grateful to Experian. Breakfast Connect, the world famous B2B breakfast networking event, is all happening next week, Friday the 21st of July, and none other than Experian will be sponsoring and hosting the event at the Bryanston Country Club. And I've really got to urge everyone out there, if you haven't been to a Breakfast Connect, you've got to take action. And what's not only amazing about this, the fee has been waived. You will get a promo code. So please, guys, it's an unrivaled morning of inspired networking, massive prizes, scrumptious breakfasts, top-of-the-line guest speakers. The experience is pure inspiration and motivation. And of course, it's all brought to you by NSBC world famous events, and of course, powered by Experian. And it's the opportunity to rub shoulders with like-minded, successful entrepreneurs, business leaders. You will meet people who will inspire and drive you, and you will share strategies about what's working. And it's a morning, it's exhilarating. It's highly respected, it's highly regarded. If you haven't been to one, now's the chance. It's all happening next Friday, but I can assure you, It's limited offer. We don't want to disappoint. If you really haven't been to one, or if you'd like to come through, we've got the Experian team there. You've got first-hand assistance there. You can be purely inspired. Anything that you need, not just about credit reports or credit scores, everything around that, and plus a whole lot more to really join us. So go onto our website, nsbc.africa, the top tab there, events. You will see the event for next Friday. And Ans, to you and to the Experian team, thank you for hosting it. It's going to be an absolutely awe-inspiring event. Here it's on the right there. There it is. There's the promo code. So when you get your booking, there's a promo code. The fee has been waived. So please, guys, if you stuck on that promo code, pop an email to info@nsbc.africa. I can tell you, I will be there. I will welcome the people. I will welcome the Experian team. And I'm going to have a super amount of fun next Friday, because they're so amazing. And, you know, the power of networking is one of the biggest requests that we get from business owners and entrepreneurs throughout South Africa. So just about everything that you need is all happening in one morning next Friday at the Bryanston Country Club. There it is on the top right there. Please join us. Please join us. It's really an incredible experience to have. And I know that once you join us for one, I think you will stay with us forever. So, Ans, to you and the team Experian, thank you for this morning. Thank you for being an integral part of this amazing campaign, Financially Fit campaign over the past many months. You have made a difference. Your team has made a difference. Many business owners has prospered and come back because of people like you and organizations like you. So we are truly grateful, and thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day further. And to everybody out there, thank you for being part of this morning. It's also because of you we can do what we do. And I hope to see every one of you next Friday morning at the Bryanston Country Club. And as again, just to repeat myself one more time, if you're stuck on any information, go to info@nsbc.africa, the email, or click onto the website, www.nsbc.africa, top tab, the events. Click on there, scroll down, you'll see the big event happening next Friday. From me, I think I've said enough, Ans. Thank you so much for your time.
Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
Everyone, have a great day. All the very best. Thank you. Watch the video, everybody. Watch the video. It's coming up in the next few seconds. Thank you.
Up your game with Experian's free credit information and education app. Up by Experian gives you a credit budgeting and learning experience to help you take control of your financial health. Step up and take control of your finances. With Up's budgeting tool, you can set up your first budget along with tips to help you. Up pulls in your bureau data and keeps a record so you can compare each month's budget as you progress. Improve your credit score to get a thumbs up. Your credit score is the single most important financial score you'll ever get. On Up, it takes less than a minute to get your credit score. To better understand and improve your score, we have top tips to help you. Learn to build up your credit report and improve your finances. Enhance your knowledge about your credit, money, and personal information with infographics, articles, podcasts, and videos written by experienced experts. Upscale yourself in a simple and fun way. Managing money and credit can be confusing, but Up is here to help. Brush up your financial understanding by exploring our Gelazar courses for free. Once you've set up your profile, you're in control to manage your profile and preferences as you need. And because security is everything in our digital age, Up uses the latest in security technology to ensure your information is secure. We're upping our game by developing an app to help you better control your credit and money. So, step up and sign up for free to Up by Experian at www.app.experian.co.za. Brought to you by Experian. Experian South Africa Pty Ltd is a registered credit bureau with the National Credit Regulator in terms of the National Credit Act. Registration number NCR CB16.